Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to another Cold Nights Countdown. Today, we're going to be covering my personal top 5 survival horror games. Survival horror, a huge genre for me, a huge part of my formative teenage gaming years. Games like the original Resident Evil, Silent Hill, things like Galarians, Kadelka, all of those games, the Fatal Frame series, left an indelible image in my head of what fear should look like in gaming, whether that's actual jump scares, whether it's the themes being something that's terrifying, or whether it's the kind of panic horror that you saw in games like Dino Crisis. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, coming in at number 5, we have Dino Crisis for PlayStation 1. Directed by Shinji Mikami, it was put out by Capcom. And at first, when I heard about it, I was concerned that Capcom was kind of trying to just capitalize on the fervor of Resident Evil and that it really wouldn't stand on its own. I was very wrong. The game is extremely unique. It's the only game I've seen that could really rival the jump scares that were in Resident Evil, with the pterodactyl swooping down, with the boss encounter where the T-Rex literally explodes through the wall. And the fact that even the basic enemies, the velociraptors, the zombies of this game, just 2 or 3 in a hallway could induce, like I said before, that panic terror, was something really special and that you'd never really felt in a game before. So it literally broke some ground. Yes, it was not the first survival horror game, and yes, it's not the best survival horror game, but they took the formula to a new place and made something truly special. One of the great things at the end, it literally gives you an A or B choice for different endings and decisions that you can make that has a direct effect on the events. Something very unique, something awesome, and all of those things make Dino Crisis number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have the PC release Dreadout. Dreadout was a game developed in Indonesia. And if you're not aware, Indonesia is a country with a very small game development scene, and most of it is focused on mobile games. So they crowdfunded the development of the game. They met their goal, and they produced something, in my opinion, that is very incredible. The imagery in the game sold me immediately. I remember seeing one of the advertisements, and it had this like terrible creature woman hanging upside down, mouth wide open, like jaws unhinged, horrifying teeth. And that imagery is definitely pervasive throughout the game. There's just a unsettling atmosphere while you're exploring. There's not really a ton of combat, but the game is really focused on the atmosphere. You're basically a group of high schoolers, and you are investigating all of these haunted ass places. So the couple boss fights, the Scissor Phantom, the Pokong Raja, really cool looking things, really terrifying. And I just realized today, actually, that Dreadout 2, which I had never played, last month released on the PS4 and PS5. So I will be streaming that. But definitely check it out if you like disturbing imagery. And Dreadout is number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Fatal Frame, Maiden of Black Water. So this one may be a controversial pick from the series for some people, but I assure you, the release on the Wii U had so many fun and frankly disturbing things in the game. So the way they used the Wii U gamepad as like your camera was very interesting. You had like pretty much full directional awareness with that. So it really made it almost like an immersive VR experience. And going back to the imagery, I recall one scene where you see the ghost literally reenacting her suicide, like cutting her own throat. And it was very powerful and very emotional. The game is like that throughout. The imagery rivals anything that you would have seen in Crimson Butterfly or The Tormented or the original. Those games may have set the tone for the series, but seeing it in modern graphics, and especially with the release on the PlayStation 4 and 5, really makes Maiden in Blackwater something special. And it comes in at number 3. Coming in at number 2, we have Silent Hill 2. Definitely one of the greatest games that was ever produced, not only for the PS2, but for any system. I still remember playing through and absolutely falling in love with the storytelling and the characters in the game. Such memorable characters like Mary / Maria, Angela Roscoe, Eddie. So much going on in the game. Such deep emotion and such important and disturbing themes that are explored throughout it. I still remember certain scenes in the game when Angela walks up the flaming staircase to her obvious death, when James is running through the hallway towards the last boss, and there's a huge emotional dialogue from Mary. And my absolute favorite ending to the game is the Maria ending, where James leaves Silent Hill with her, and as she's getting into the car, she coughs, giving a little bit of foreshadowing to the fact that he's going to relive the nightmare he went through with his sick and dying wife in the past. So powerful, so emotional, such a wonderful soundtrack by Akira Yamaoka. Promise is probably one of the greatest pieces of video game music that was ever created. Almost nothing tops it. And it comes in at number 2. And we're finally here. Number 1. We're going to go back in time. I can remember coming out of school and running to the car and praying that my dad did what he promised and went to Toys R Us and got it on the day it came out. And sure enough, when I got in the car, my copy of Resident Evil 2 was waiting for me. I was probably one of the biggest Resident Evil fanboys that ever existed. And when Resident Evil 2 was announced, the lead up to it was incredible. All the ads on TV, all the hype, I just had to have it. And when I got that home and got it on my system, being able to explore the rest of Raccoon City, seeing the police department and the city itself, the city streets, the little shops that you would go into, just incredible. It added so much to the lore and the prestige of the game. And with Mr. X relentlessly pursuing you, offering plenty of challenge and plenty of jump scares, and the tragic story of William and Annette Birkin and their daughter Sherry. So much in there. Chief Irons and the terrible things that he did to his daughter. And it literally changed the way people consumed games. In my opinion, I really think that games like Resident Evil 2 brought us into a new age where games would become more and more popular and really get into the consciousness of America. The remake was incredible. I played through that. The things they did with Mr. X, having him even more relentlessly and more terrifyingly pursue, were just incredible. The game really has no rival, and it is definitely my pick for the number 1 survival horror game of all time. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay spooky.